Today I'm going to go over a little bit about shoulder and shoulder arthritis. So exactly what is arthritis? So here obviously I just have the bones, so none of the muscles are here. So as far as arthritis is concerned, this is pretty good to look at. Arthritis is typical because it has to do with changes in the bone structure of a joint. So you can have arthritis in any joint in your body, but it's pretty common when you have two joints that come together, usually big joints, and the cartilage material, like the labrum, thins away. So you're not having such an easy time moving your shoulder anymore because it's starting to thin out and thin out. So when that thins out, this guy doesn't have something easy to glide on. And when that doesn't glide very well, that's when you start feeling those snap, crackle, pops in your shoulder. You start having pain when you try to move your shoulder. And it's all because of this breakdown of the cartilage. You can also have arthritis at the AC joint. Here is our shoulder, our clavicle, and the acromion. So where these two guys meet over here is the AC joint. And in the AC joint, it's a very small space, but it's another joint which is pretty popular where there's arthritis. And usually at the AC joint, we're talking about some extra bone formation going on here. So when extra bone comes in and forms underneath this joint space, it kind of rubs and rubs and rubs. And so it's impeding on the ability for any kinds of ligaments, tendons to get through, and it just rubs away at them and it causes pain. So what kind of symptoms? So obviously pain, but where is your pain? So a lot of times when you have arthritis in the shoulder itself, a lot of the pain will actually be referred in the back of the shoulder here, if it has to do with the actual joint of this guy and this guy here. You can also have pain along the top of the shoulder, and that's because of that AC joint issue. Generally, most people will be really, really stiff, and that's pretty common, especially first thing in the morning when you haven't moved around all night. As you move throughout the day, you may notice that the stiffness gets better and you're having a little less pain. But obviously when you do too much and you're overusing your muscles and you're overusing your joint, then you also get pain because you've overdone the activity. People will complain that they can't lay on that side. That's because when you lay on that side, so here, this would be like the right shoulder. If you're laying on your right side when you're sleeping at night, you're compressing that joint. So you're kind of smushing this guy into that socket where you don't have a good lining going on in there. And because of that, anytime you put pressure on that, it's just compressing bone to bone. So because there's less cushioning, there's no shock absorption, and then there's more pain, and then you'll notice that you can't lay on that side anymore. So the other thing is the crepitus, when you hear all kinds of funky noises when you're trying to move your arm. Biggest thing is if you're washing your hair in the shower, you're trying to put a bra on, shirt overhead, you might notice you hear some noises. Sometimes noises are normal, and a lot of people always are like, oh my gosh, what are those noises? It's driving me crazy, and is there something really majorly wrong with that? No, not necessarily. Our joints make noises, sometimes it's air, but if the noise is associated with pain, that's when there's an issue. We don't want to hear noises, and it hurts every time it makes a noise. Then there's an issue. That's more of like the arthritis part. If you hear noises and there's not a lot of pain going on, or any pain going on for that matter, it could be just air or tendons flicking over some bone. The other thing you're going to notice is that decreased mobility. So the biggest thing is with arthritis, you're going to lose a lot of range of motion in several different areas. So reaching up this way, trying to reach for the seat belt to put upon you this way, arm behind the back, you're going to notice that you start to have limitations in all those range of motions. So how does PT help exactly? We cannot change the structure of your actual bone, but the thing is that you want to actually work on strengthening everything around the joint where the bone and the bone are together. So if you strengthen everything around the joint, you're giving it a good stability area so that all these muscles will be strong, take the support of the joint, make it stronger, and it's going to take the brunt of the force away from the actual bone and the other bone. So the thing is that we're working to try to eliminate the pain that is induced in the joint by strengthening all those muscles, and that's what the rotator cuff does. The rotator cuff muscles are usually pretty weak because people don't normally strengthen those smaller muscle groups. People will focus a lot on your deltoids and doing arm raises, front raises, all those kinds of things, biceps, but they forget about the small rotator muscles. So it's pretty common when we see patients, they think they are super strong, but when we check their rotator cuff muscles, some of the smaller muscles, they're noticeably weak. So it's something that we can work on. So besides working on strengthening of that rotator cuff, we want to work on some posture. It's pretty common that when these muscles where your rotator cuff are, they attach here, these muscles are weak. You notice the shoulders kind of round forward like that, and that's because these are weak and your pec muscles here are tight. So we want to stretch out your pec muscles. We want to strengthen the back of your shoulder where all those rotator cuff muscles are. And what that's going to do is it's going to take this guy from being all the way here and pulling it back into the center of the joint. And that's going to improve your ability to actually move the shoulder joint because it's back in the center. This bone should technically be centered in this joint. So when you're having issues with the rotator cuff muscles being weak, typically you will notice worse posturing, more forwarding movement of the shoulder here, rolling forward. And so part of the issue is trying to strengthen and work on posture and strengthening of those rotator cuff muscles so the mechanics of this joint are correct, and that will also bring you less pain. The other thing that PT does is that we can actually move your arm and work on things that you can't do on your own. So what we do is a lot of joint mobility, where we actually get our hands on the joint and we actually move them in ways to improve the mobility of that arm bone on that shoulder so that you can increase the range of motion. The other thing is some soft tissue restrictions. Like I said, if you have some pain from having a tight pec muscle, sometimes people get some tightness in the back here. We can dig in there and get that out for you so that you can tolerate the exercises better and then get to the point where you're not having soft tissue restrictions. Big thing with PT is to focus on function. So everybody thinks, oh, getting dressed, being able to shower, all those things. Yes, super important. And the more you neglect the pain, the worse those normal everyday activities get. The key is that we also want to get you back to your full functioning, whether it's running, swimming is a huge one because of the shoulder. We don't want to just stop at your normal everyday activities of daily living. We want to actually get you back to the full function of what you were doing before, so that we are the guys that actually can get you to do those things with a lot less pain or even pain-free. So like I said, if you do not address this now, you will start to lose more and more range of motion in all the different directions. Like I said, the shoulder is the most mobile joint of your entire body. So when you can't have the use of your arm to do basic things like getting dressed and washing your hair, it's going to get pretty frustrating. So if you keep waiting, the longer you wait, the worse it's going to get. Also, sleeping at night becomes an issue where you won't even be able to sleep on your shoulder, let alone even sleeping on your back might be painful. Obviously, if you do not do anything, you will have to resort to what is the last resort, which is surgery. And with surgery, that could be anything from the doctor going in with a scope and cleaning out all the arthritis in the joint, and other things such as if there are spurring, that might tear away at some of the tendons from the rotator cuff. So we're talking like basic surgery, which is just debriding the area of the space of arthritis. And then if it's bad enough, tearing some of those rotator cuff tendons, which then is a significant surgery, which is several months of rehab involved after that. So it's really important, if you're having pain, give us a call and let us know, and we can get you in for an evaluation.